Alright. Alrighty, let's get this little show on the road here. We all know the drill. I come on, I sign in, blah 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 blah. And then we get to the movie at 10. Or story. Well, in this case, movie. Alright. We have somebody in here fixing to take a look at the special feat at the behind the scenes of the Boldly Flee. Yep. Oh yeah, just like when we saw behind the scenes of Suburban Nights. So, alright, so this time it's the Boldly Flee. We have to put in disc number 2 because on this one they put their special features on a separate disc from the movie. There we go. Alright. See who all's coming in here. Alright. Here we go.
Suburban Nights had been completed. The fan reactions had been positive beyond expectations. The struggles of the production had more than paid off. But then, someone asked that question that can instill so much dread in a filmmaker.
What's up, Zach?
What's next?
It's
So join us as we explore
another behind the scenes of Critic.
and find out how an almost throwaway reference to Star Trek II became the anthem of the production. We're not gonna make it. We're not gonna make it. Are we? We're gonna make it. Always.
Well, everybody has the truth to that song.
Every story needs a beginning. Luckily, The Boldly Flee, and by extension, this documentary, picks up right where Suburban Nights left off.
It was always
Last time on Channel Also.
what we ultimately came up with was where it was going to go. It was to search for Monty. It would be revolving around getting Monty back. And I thought about this actually well ahead of time because when we shot Suburban Nights, I actually dragged Spoonie and Fargo out to the field. And so we're going to shoot the scene and he does the whole spot bit where he says, remember. They were kind of like, why are we doing this? And I'm just like, trust me, it'll come in later. It'll come in handy. I read that they did this in Star Trek 2, and it worked.
So how were you guys planning to bring Monty back?
Before he even started, he just came to me, because we had some idea. We knew we had to do something for Monty. We knew it had to be sci-fi based, and we knew sort of the main satire was going to lean towards Star Trek 3. Now, we were thinking about calling it The Search for Monty. And at one point, I didn't have anything else outside that, and Rob came up to me and said, well, what do you think about this? There's this anomaly in space. It's messing everything up. Everybody's going crazy over it. And it's causing insanity everywhere. Just the strangest things are happening. And the crew has to go and find out what it is. That's good. Well, what is it? A plot hole.
Yeah, that's totally how plot holes work.
It explains every inconsistency that we've ever had in any of the movies. And I said, well, we can have this plot hole that's spewing out things, and you have to somehow plug up the plot hole, this and that. It started from there, and then I guess Doug and I just bounced ideas off each other for, I don't know, a couple months, and then at some point I just started writing, like, Act 1. This went from there, and then Doug got the idea of, like, well, we'll just film it in the house. The house will take off, and I thought that was actually a brilliant solution.
With the genre decided, the next step was writing the script. But that shouldn't be that hard. Should it?
We're looking at it about, like, 8,
Kind of varies when it comes to that kind of thing.
8 months from the inception of what the script was going to be. Actual writing time of the script, probably 6 months, which it actually would have been shorter because the first half I cranked out in a month and a half, maybe a month. But we had all the issues with SOPA, which was kind of good for us because it ended up going into the script anyway. I got so angry having to deal with Sofa stuff while writing the script that I just decided I'm going to throw this in the script just to stick it to them.
There was always this idea of fighting corporate, fighting the people who were against us, essentially, because they think they're losing fight with us.
And I think there was always that
Which
aim
I
to
don't
attack
think is
that. That was very much
actually
our focus. And I don't know if Sofa was always in there at the very beginning, but it was certainly there early on, or the sucker act, as he ended up calling it. The exact day I added the Sofa stuff was when I realized that I was preparing dossiers for congressmen that we had to meet, just getting really demoralized as, we kind of watched a lot of representatives just kind of like, oh, that's nice, okay, we'll read this, sir, okay. And by the end of that trip, I was like, wow.
Oh, the next reaction.
I'm just going to throw it in the movie.
That,
and really
I think
doing the research for that was great because
have you seen the one that was put up recently? The Yu-Gi-Oh! Bonds Beyond Time.
Because most, if not all of it, was pure BS. So reading this, I just got enraged and just full of anger, and I'm just like, okay, I'm just putting this in here, the lines about, how much is lost to piracy, and, Brad's observation that is like, well, you're claiming it's for all these people, but compared to the executives, these people don't get much to begin with, this justification, well, now we can afford to pay them even less. So, yeah, that's pretty much how all that came about.
Okay, the main conflict is in place. The protagonist is simple enough. That just leaves villains.
Okay.
Malachite was badass, but you guys are pretty clever.
Yep.
I'm typical good feed topping Malachite.
I kind of
Very.
I kind of want to keep.
I'm just going to stop talking. If you guys need anything, I'll be over here.
I don't think there's ever this
when you
idea
see when you get around to
real
seeing
dramatic tension
the Yu-Gi-Oh! Reaction,
Anything
you get all the way to the end of it. The
all of our
reaction
villains are
will
incredibly
reveal
The executive
what's
is a threat,
coming up next there.
but he's still kind of goofy.
It's gonna reveal.
You all want anything? Maybe some hot dogs or some more popcorn. I forgot my wallet.
Turl's not a threat. Right. What else could go wrong? Sadly, I think the most threatening villain we have is Mechakara, by virtue of the fact that he doesn't talk much.
Death is only a shadow of what awaits you.
We stepped it up in the sense that what the villains could do was legitimately
Yep.
threatening.
Mechakara came aboard to boldly flee.
Trying to shut the internet down, trying to shut the critics down. That was a threat to their livelihood, unlike Malachite, who was some guy who wants to kill you.
Since we're on the topic, here's an interesting side note about Mechakara.
The reason I'm contributing to this is because I actually heard a lot of the initial ideas from the third year, and some of those got transported into the Boldly Flee. Back at a convention in 2011 called, I believe, either 2010 or 2011, I can't remember. At a convention called ZaishoCon, Doug and I were both there, and I asked him, what's the plan for the third year? He had this idea that Mechakara would join the group on this mystical quest, and of course,
Wow.
he had to put, and he thought there was a lot of super potential in Mechakara acting, completely serious and pissed off that he has to do all this fantasy crap in order to get this object of power that we were looking for. It didn't feel right to me. I said, I don't think this is going to work. I don't think that would have stopped Doug anyway. But I think he decided that for Suburban Nights, it made more sense to have my character be constantly singing Martha's thing, especially since Camelot is my
Yeah, it would be kind of weird to have Mechakara.
But then at the very end, as we were
Hey, what's going on, Claire?
I went to him and said,
Oh, don't worry, not too much. We did start at about I say 8:21 exactly. So.
Well, it's always difficult writing for other producers, particularly in this case, because
Well, actually 9 minutes. 9 minutes ago, according to the
it's like writing a
live
comic
stream
book.
thing. But yeah.
When you have a comic book movie or a movie based on a book, your characters in some cases are already set. It was a lot of story, and it was good story. But there was not much character. I think some of the producers only got like a line. That's sort of point where I sort of go and say, okay, this Mickey needs a few lines here.
Well, looks like you found out, Zach.
There's some that
I don't think they got to the
do
Nazi
very well, but
part.
there's no character. They haven't invented a super persona around them, so you're kind of left. You're handed 30 people and say, put these people in the script, and then like give them all characters. Well, someone's going to be medium, and someone's not. Sometimes it's like, well, Julian has a very dry sense of humor. I guess we'll make him the doctor, and he'll just always be just kind of dry. We'll make him maybe like House MD.
You're an idiot. And if you die, most of us won't miss you. Now, are you allergic to shellfish?
No.
Any silly?
No.
Peanuts?
No.
12,000 volts of electricity rushing through your moral cortex.
Very.
That's nice.
And that was sort of my job to go away and to sort of make it where, and what are the lines where if somebody hears this, like, ooh, that sounds intriguing, I want to see this.
He basically wrote my character as
I
having
remember the
a
first time I saw
to
this guy
more
here was
knowledge
in Les
of people,
Miserables.
and B, desperately wanting to sing, which is not inaccurate, I suppose.
In some cases, we decided on things early, and I don't even remember how we did it. Film Brain, we made practically psychotic, and I don't think he comes off that way in his reviews. Like, he's completely insane when he's around the critic.
Oh, don't feel bad.
Yeah.
There's nothing himself about his character.
I know
Yeah.
some people had problems with my portrayals in the previous two films because it's not the same character as I play on my main show. I mean,
You got that right.
I'm kind of playing a slightly more exaggerated version of myself in a different direction. They're both sort of my personality, but in different directions. Kikassia and Suburban Nights is kind of more my
boy.
casual self. I'm kind of a bit bouncy and off the wall sometimes. And the Battery Beatdown sort of persona, if you will, not really a character, but the persona of Battery Beatdown is kind of the exaggeration of me getting angry at the movie, because I do get angry at a movie. I do get annoyed at plot holes and things like that, and I will see the movie in my own home, even though no one will be able to listen to me because it's a movie, duh. But I didn't have any problems with that. I actually found it quite refreshing.
Will you calm down? I'm not trying to scare you. I want to inspire you to defeat the dots.
Well, at least that would have been closer to how he actually is in his
You
reviews.
think of something like Kikassia, which is very, or the Brawl. I mean, it's mostly character films. It's not very story driven. Those are the ones that only I wrote. And then when you get to Suburban Night, you get a little bit more story in there, and taking a few more risks with, can some of this be taken seriously? Can you actually be invested a little bit? Can you start to care? And I think when we get into this one, where we do have some scenes that, well, of course, corny and still a little comedic, you can take them seriously too.
What about storylines that got cut? Were you sad to see any of them go?
I had a ton, but again, they should have been in there. They did not connect to the story at all. But like one of them I remember was I wanted like this Jar Jar Binks-ish character that they come across, and they find him at oh, hello, how are you? Oh, I'm so sorry. No, that's something in the throat there. Oh, good lord, can you imagine if I really talked like that? That'd be insanely annoying. And so they have this alien that actually is the exact opposite of Jar Jar Binks. Like, he was incredibly insightful, incredibly helpful. Before they went into battle, he would recite poetry and everyone would be really moved by it. And he had all these brilliant master plans that could break him into places and stuff. And he was just like the world's most awesome character. Initially, the whole team goes to Area 51. Only we were calling it Area 52. It was so secret that even Area 51 didn't know about it. And that's where Spoonie was being held. And originally the house had already taken off and they were going to break into Area 51. The character of Prick was there. They killed him there. And somebody was supposed to dance naked in a band dance of Fatal. And yeah, I probably don't want to go into too much detail about that. Benzai doing a fan dance, which got cut.
Oh my goodness.
There were a number of really, really great bits, but once we lost Bargo from the plot as a main actor, and it just became there was no point to do it. It just became a giant detour. And that's probably best we didn't do it. Then for a while, it was some drama involving a butler and World War II. I don't know what that was about, but we dropped that too. And eventually we have the product now.
That was awesome.
The butler idea was awesome.
Singing
I don't know.
Nazis is great.
We had singing Nazis and doilies. It was all about doilies. Doug didn't like the doily idea. I did. I think that's not
As long as they're singing Nazis, I'm good.
Ah!
We would have had
Not
singing
that.
Nazis, but you had to stop me at the doilies. Hey,
Do
if you
not.
gave me my doilies, we would have had singing Nazis.
No.
Compromise is safe.
No.
We should totally make the 5-year about singing.
Year 5, singing doilies.
Year 5, singing Nazi doilies.
Love it. I love this man.
I have no idea on that
The
one.
costumes are always a big
Oh,
part of
boy.
these crossover movies, so it's no surprise that a lot of thought was put into them this year.
Well, I didn't want costumes at all, so I guess technically we didn't need costumes. Doug insisted. We still needed people to imitate characters, or people need to see, our characters sort of imitate other sci-fi characters. It's just part of satire. And we had a lot of arguments back and forth between how we were going to do it, if we should do it, should everybody do it. And again, we sort of had to come to a compromise. I think worked out very well. We were arguing about it. I just said, well, what do you want me to do? Do you want to have every single character somehow logically fall into this costume role? I started thinking about it. I thought, well, wait, maybe Hope can get electrocuted, and that just sort of makes her like Ed. Maybe Bennett can go in the dream machine, and in there he sort of turns into sensible. Maybe we
Yeah, you
can
can
need
come
to
up with
distract
some
the Men in
ways
Black
of how
guys by
everybody
dressing him like a
could
Men in
just
Black, and they all started to fall
Instantly become
together.
these
The costumes for
characters.
the Boldly Flee were top-notch and required the help of some very talented people.
The costumes were a couple of people. Probably the biggest one that did the most work was Featherweight, who I met at
Yes,
John
yes, it
Bravo
was,
in
Claire.
Canada. And I was just noticing some of this stuff, and I said, hey, would you be up for doing a few for our very silly
And
movie?
yeah,
And he said,
Zach,
"We looking
we-
for it." So,
yeah,
I
the-
wrote it down,
I know the
but,
Pokemon movies are
afterwards.
on the list.
Yeah. His eyes really perked up.
I
He
would
got
probably-
really excited.
If that's the case, I would probably go with July,
Like
because
there were like
June's going to be
60 of
Darkwing
them,
Duck.
something like that.
Yeah.
like length of this, length of that, length of here, here, this way around, and
Oh.
you would not believe how much work.
I know it's just me, but the way Todd's chin looks right here,
the width of my
the way,
head,
the way it looks,
this
it sort of
part,
reminds,
here,
to me,
here,
it kind
here,
of makes him
look
look like
amazing.
Tyler Perry.
When we finally got it, it was like, oh my god, I must put this on immediately.
You had to make sure.
Oh yeah, well, but it's actually not that comfortable, believe it or not. I know you're surprised.
Yep.
And walking around it was difficult. I could only, move this far, but I looked cool with it, so I didn't care.
Why you can look now? Can you hold your arm out straight?
I am cool.
Okay, that's good.
I can't do both though.
Okay, you only need one.
Okay.
For mine, my stuff was almost all made. I think the only thing that wasn't was the Gort suit, which I had to find. If you look very closely, there was a little American flag there that just didn't look right, so I had to duct tape it out, which you do sort of feel like an ass when you're duct taping the American flag out. You can't really tell. It just sort of looks like a pocket or a patch or something like that. So hopefully. It did stand out too much, but we still had the helmet, and everybody's eyes are on the helmet anyway. Let me get my battle armor on. Something dreadful. Oh yeah. Getting the costume on wasn't difficult. Keeping it on was difficult, particularly during the action scenes. Really, what it is, it's cardboard. Really, I mean, it's just a lot of cardboard come together and painted over and glued. And when you keep moving it around, and especially when a lot of it's very heavy on one side, it's gonna break. So what we ended up doing during the action scenes was that we had to bring. We looked for black tape.
He didn't really
find it, so we had to have.
He didn't really
duct
pay
tape that we
much
then
of,
took a Sharpie and painted over black. to actually duct
He
tape
didn't
the
really,
center together.
he didn't really pay anybody on that. He practically ripped off a lot of the content creators, taking some of that ad
Which made
revenue.
it so much more funny because that thing is so huge.
It was like rollerball crossed with dart helmet.
Yeah,
That's
they
always
they
something
did talk
and
about the
during
sofa.
action scenes, the way it wobbles around.
I think kind of at
It's
the
so funny.
beginning
As
of
well
all
as happy little
this.
mistakes that just makes the comedy so much more enjoyable.
And here he is.
The Zod costumes,
Okay.
were done by Pat Smith, who also
Okay,
designed
you just have to do it on the
Kick-Ass
regular
Mice
rewind because they don't have
so I
scene
hope they're
selection
back to
on
design
this.
those the first
What?
time, I only figured that
Wait, oh, wait, no, I take that back. What maybe they do?
Cruelty extended even to the children of Krypton. And Nod! He's a mindless aberration whose only means of communication is wanton violence and destruction.
Yeah. Because it's so blended into all the other stuff they're talking about, it's really hard to pinpoint it where about that part of the
The
conversation
struggles
is
of the
there.
production had more than paid off. But then, someone asked that question that can instill so much dread in a filmmaker. What's next? So
No,
join us
Claire
as we
just
explore
wanted
the evolution
Claire
of
wanted to
the
see
Golden
the
Fleet
sofa
and
thing
find out
again.
how an
Sofa
almost
thing
throwaway
she
reference
came
to
in
Star
late.
Trek 2 became the anthem of the production.
Okay.
I thought about this actually well ahead of time because when we shot Suburban Nights, I actually dragged Spoonie and Fargo out to the field so we're going to shoot the scene and take up the whole shot.
Turn this heat on.
They were kind of like, why are we doing this? And I'm just like, trust me, it'll come in later. It'll come in handy. I read that they did this in Star Trek 2, and it worked.
So how were you guys planning to bring Mati back?
Before he even started, he just came to me because we had some idea. We knew we had to do something for Mati. We knew it had to be sci-fi based, and we knew sort of the main satire was going to lean towards Star Trek 3. We were thinking about calling it the Search for Mati. And at one point, I didn't have anything else outside that, and Rob came up to me and said, well, what do you think about this? There's this anomaly in space that's messing everything up. Everybody's going crazy over it. And it's causing insanity everywhere. Just the strangest things are happening. And the crew has
Pretty
to
much,
find out
and
what
then
it is.
they themselves become Hollywood.
Not home. Which I kind of like because it explains every inconsistency that we've ever had in any of the movies. And I said, well, we can have this plot hole that's spewing out things, and you have to somehow plug up the plot hole and this and that. And it started from there, and then I guess Doug and I just bounced ideas off each other for, I don't know, a couple months, and then at some point I just started writing like Act 1. This went from there, and then Doug got the idea of like, well, we'll just film it in the house. The house will take off, and I thought that was actually a brilliant solution.
With the genre decided, the next step was writing the script. But that shouldn't be that hard. Should it?
We're looking at about like 8,
Come on, yeah, so I talked about sofa.
8 months from the inception of what the script was going to be. Actual writing time of the script probably 6 months, which it actually would have been shorter because the first act I cranked out in a month and a half, maybe a month. But we had all the issues with SOPA,
There we go.
which was kind of good for us because it ended up going into the script anyway. I got so angry having to deal with SOPA stuff while writing the script that I just decided I'm going to throw this in the script just to stick it to them.
There was always this idea of fighting corporate and fighting the people who were against us, essentially, because they think they're losing money with us.
And I think there was always that aim to attack that. That was very much Rob's focus. And I don't know if SOPA was always in there at the very beginning, but it was certainly there early on, or the Sucka Act, as he ended up calling it. The exact day I added the SOPA stuff was when I realized that I was preparing dossiers for congressmen that we had to meet, just getting really demoralized as, you know, we kind of watched a lot of representatives just kind of like, oh, that's nice, okay, we'll read this, sir, okay. You know, and by the end of that trip, I was like, wow, nobody paid attention to us. I'm like, you know what, I'm just going to throw it in the movie. And really doing the research for that was great because I basically got to see firsthand doing the research how much
Really?
BS there is in the numbers that were used to justify SOBA. Because most, if not all of it, was pure BS. So reading this, I just got enraged and just full of anger, and I'm just like, okay, I'm just putting this in here, you know. The lines about, you know, how much is lost to piracy, and, you know, Brad's observation that is like, well, you're claiming it's for all these people, but compared to the executives, these people don't get much to begin with, you know. This justification was, yes, well, now we can afford to pay them even less. So, yeah, that's pretty much how all of that came about.
Okay, the main conflict is in place. The protagonist is simple enough.
Yep,
That just
pretty
needs
much.
villains.
Okay. All right, let's get to. I think we were at the costumes. They talked about the villains, and we was at the costumes.
His character.
I know some people had
And film brings over exaggeration. There we go.
To imitate characters, or people need to see, you know, our characters sort of imitate other sci-fi characters. It's just part of satire. And we had a lot of arguments back and forth between how we were going to do it, if we should do it, should everybody do it. And again, we sort of had to come to a compromise. I think worked out very well. We were arguing about it, and I just said, well, what do you want me to do? You want to have every single character somehow logically fall into this costume role? I started thinking about it. I thought, well, wait, maybe Hope can get electrocuted, and that just sort of makes her like Ed. Maybe Bennett can go in the dream machine, and in there he sort of turns into sensible. Maybe Mickey needs to distract the Men in Black guys by dressing him like a Men in Black, and they all started to fall together.
The costumes for To Boldly Flee were top notch and required the help of some very talented people.
The costumes were a couple of people. Probably the biggest one that did the most work was Featherweight, who I met at Con Bravo in Canada. And I was just noticing some of his stuff, and I said, hey, would you be up for doing a few for our very silly movie? And he said, what are you looking for? I said, well, I'm RoboCop, Judge Dredd, Gort. And he said, yeah. His eyes really perked up. He got really excited.
I had to give him all these measurements. Like there were like 60 of them or something like that. Like length of this, length of that, length of here, here, this way around. And you would not believe how much work went into that just from us. And I didn't even have to make the damn thing. I just had to measure the length of my head, the width of my head from this part of my head from here to here, but it looked amazing. And when we finally got it, it was like, oh my God, I must put this on immediately.
We had to do it, right?
Oh yeah, well, but it's actually not that comfortable, believe it or not. I know you're surprised. And walking around it was difficult. I could only, move this far, but I looked cool with it, so I didn't care.
Why you can let you hold your arm out straight? Is that good? You can do the okay. That's good. I can't do both though. Okay, you only need one.
Okay.
For mine, my stuff was almost all made. I think the only thing that wasn't was the Gort suit, which I had to find. If you look very closely, there was a little American flag there that just didn't look right, so I had to duct tape it out, which you do sort of feel like an ass when you're duct taping the American flag out. You can't really tell. It just sort of looks like a pocket or a patch or something like that. So hopefully. It didn't stand out too much, but, we still had the helmet, and everybody's eyes are on the helmet anyway. Let me get my battle armor on. Something. Oh, yeah. Getting the costume on wasn't difficult. Keeping it on was difficult, particularly during the action scenes. Really, what it is, it's cardboard. Really, I mean, it's just a lot of cardboard come together and painted over and
I
glued.
think that might be kind of
and when
what's
you keep
holding
moving it around,
think that might
especially
be
when a
why
lot of it's
Bob
very heavy and heavy on one side,
been
it's gonna
so
break.
busy
So
with
what we
what
ended
they
up
can't
doing
stream for Bumblebee.
during the action
There's a
was
possibility.
that we had to bring.
I know
we
on
looked for
Patreon
black tape, we
he
couldn't find it,
released
so we had to have duct tape
he
that we then
released
took
a
a
riff.
Sharpie and painted over black.
So I guess probably checking that out a
actually
little
duct
later,
tape
but
the
it's on his
center together.
Patreon right now. Yep,
One
and
thing that I'll say
yeah,
about
that,
the
yeah,
Red
making a
costume
movie.
is that I think I gave him the wrong
That
head
would be,
measurements,
yeah, making a movie
which
would be
made
fun.
it so much more funny because that thing is so huge. It was like rollerball crossed with Darth helmet. That's always sort of the comparison I make, and during the action scenes, the way it wobbles around, I think is so funny. It's one of those happy little mistakes that just makes the comedy so much more enjoyable.
Great. Who the devil are you?
The Zod costumes for Lindsay and Kyle as well were done by Pat Smith, who also designed the Kick-Assy and the M. Bison costume. So I called her back to design those because she did such a good job the first time. Only figures that I could bring her back for the second time.
My son was cruelty extended even to the children of Krypton. And none! He's a mindless aberration whose only means of communication is wanton violence and destruction. He's also a mute, that's very important to know.
The rest of the costumes were not nearly as intricate, but it was still up to the producers to find the pieces.
It actually wasn't very difficult to find parts to my costume, because I'm not really wearing a whole heck of a lot in the fight scene that I'm in.
We don't even have blood, or my blood on your sword!
Yeah, it was just pretty much black pants, and then I wetted down my hair, put in a lot of hairspray. And that was it. I mean, you have the black pants, you have the shoes, that's about it.
I actually have kind of like a personal history with the Harkonnen dog. I know the guy who made it, and he had to get it to Spoonie before we began shooting, but it would have been cheaper to send it to Chicago, where it was going to head anyway, instead of mailing it to Arizona and have Spoonie take it with him. So I had to call Doug to get the mailing address for the Harkonnen dog, and I think Doug kind of put it best when he said that you have a weird job when part of what you have to do is negotiate where the Harkonnen thong is going to wind up.
I think everyone's collective reaction to that one was Come look at it. It's kind of like Raiders of the Lost Ark. Don't look at it! Don't look at it!
Yeah, what I did to put together the pieces of my costume, obviously the character I was playing was sort of a Ripley-esque character, but I didn't want to be dressed really obvious through the whole thing. I wanted to have something a little more practical. So I took the jacket that I already had, the leather jacket that I wore in Suburban Nights near the end, and it just happened to kind of fit the Ripley character, so I had that to put over the suspenders. And the pants that I got were some military pants that I ordered online, and that's pretty much how that was put together.
Get away from her, you bitch! It wasn't so much difficult to find the pieces of my costume as much as it was a matter of price. Like, really the most difficult thing, I guess, would be one of two things. Bodysuit, which I really wanted full body, including the fingers, which was easy to find but expensive, and especially if I wanted it on time. So I ended up getting a bodysuit that didn't have the silver glove portion, and then getting separate silver gloves because I wanted it to be as accurate as possible. And I know most other people totally wouldn't care, but I cared really, really hard. It was a matter of just finding who was going to have all the little intricate pieces I needed. That and I guess the jacket was a little bit on the difficult side, and as it was, I had to goodwill that and then butcher it and then glue pieces to it.
They always said I would see through women.
At least it's not a fox.
Hey, that fox is my family!
Oh boy.
Well, my main costume part was the Yoda ears. I was very lucky to have my best friend, very competent photographer. And
put
so
on clothes.
what he did was basically, I'm not sure how it works, just static files until it gets solid. And so these were custom made for me by my friend who's also does my title card art. So,
Okay.
should I just get the rest of the interview?
Yeah, I kind of can see your point there. Yep. I have a feeling that would be marketed somewhere. Yoda headphones.
I knew that I had to be.
But yeah, that's I can see where your point in that, Claire.
Because I only got the script 2 weeks before I was supposed to film, and so I didn't know what my character was supposed to be. So I was literally with my parents running up and down trying to find a long leather trench coat or something that would look vaguely Neo-ish. And luckily at car boot we just happened to find this quite ragged, kind of cool-looking Steven Seagal jacket. I actually associate it less with Neo and more with Steven Seagal just trying to hide his massive weight issues.
What was that?
We were simply discussing our plans to exterminate the coming years aboard the USS Exit Strategy.
Well, I think him.
Does this mean you don't want a relationship anymore? Oh, thank God.
That was the only thing that actually needed design in the eyepiece. The rest I found either online or in cheap Conway stores. And it's weird because I wasn't any less clothed than I normally am, I guess, but I still felt really naked. So I really hated that outfit.
Risk assessment analysis indicates the probability of your success to be minimal, ensuring your failure and my victory. I basically spent a day looking for some extra stuff at JCPenney because I knew in the script Nekakara was going to get pretty damaged and messed up a bit. So I decided, okay, I need a plaid shirt that's different from the one I usually wear, so that can be ripped up and torn apart. And I already had some corduroy jackets, extra ones, just lying around. And I have several of these gray charcoal shirts. You get them at Target. So yeah, I just went to JCPenney, picked up some stuff there, and I already had the black gloves from several attempts. They're just Darth Vader gloves that you get at Spirit Halloween or whatnot, which they cut a fit, made them look like they were there was flesh and robot skeleton underneath it. I liked it.
With Nekakara, it was hard to tell where costume ended and makeup began. But for this documentary, this is where makeup begins.
Favorite makeup's Linkara's. I mean, that just looks great. And at the end where you see his arm coming off and everything, I mean, that's wonderful.
I, of course, love the full destroyed Nekakara with the hanging arm and everything. But I like the simplicity of the Terminator style ripped exposed eye flesh, because that's what I had wanted to do originally with Nekakara during my first battle with him way back in 2010. This was taking the makeup to the next level, and for a bigger project like To Boldly Flee, awesome.
With Lewis's makeup, we had made his eye in advance, and what we did was I had made it out of liquid latex, and what I did was I built a little patch on it, and this is the eyepiece, and pretty much latex, and this, funny enough, is a fishing bobber, and what we did is just take some pieces and we glued some wires on, just random wires that I used to add more detail, make it look more like peel skin back. And I built a pouch to house some wires, and I have an LED light attached with a battery. So this does light up. Unfortunately, one of the wires got pulled out, so I would have to fix it. But it did light up for the entire production, and it was fantastic.
We did one makeup test the night before we started filming, where they applied the makeup first, tested it out, made it look all gory and cool.
Different with Alzheimer's. Are you Sarah Connor? Who are you? Who am I? Where am I? I remember when all this was a field of skulls.
That was a pleasant surprise, seeing that makeup. I sat down to watch him have the makeup applied one night, and that was some really interesting and fascinating work, because I don't think we actually worked with prostheses that much before then.
What I did was I had to fit it to face. I did not have a chance to meet Lewis in person before we started filming, so I had to, the night before we did the first shooting, I had to fit it to his face to make sure it was going to work properly, and to add extra pieces for stability. So
pretty much
the next day shooting came. The first time that we used it,
I would say best of both worlds, but it'd be kind of in a way possibly more than two stuff, since they
were made
2D stop motion and
the latex and everything, and pretty much the chin piece I had to redo for a second day. It did not stay very well, but the forehead piece definitely stayed.
I made sure to get some pictures of it because it just looked awesome, and it's
definitely.
I
know I definitely need to add up the total of everything I have to give for that. I will say that there's a pretty good makeup job with Mechakara's damaged eye.
Usually, it'd take about an hour to apply the makeup for Mechakara. I think a little bit longer for the second one.
And longer than that to get the native
Of course, we had to add more bits on and make everything up dirtier, make it so clearly he's even more damaged than before, and the eye hanging loose on there. I especially love that. That was a nice touch.
The second level of.
Only question would be who would interview. I wonder who would interview us there. That'd be interesting to see who it would be.
Another fishing bobber that I used. This eye actually would light up if I took it out and took it apart. But we decided to leave it off for the production and just have it to where, he was so damaged that it didn't light up anymore. And then we just buffed up his, forehead piece a little bit more and had it one continuous piece to make it look more damaged.
For the final battle damage for the movie, this is actually the chest plate that Lewis wore underneath of his shirt, which was all connected by Velcro pieces. Got the blood, got the flabby skin, still hanging off. It's getting a little old now. We even had some extra wires that were plugged into here that was coming out, give more battle damage. But the cool thing about this, since, like I said, we had a short amount of time and very, very, very low budget. Of course, this is liquid latex, the skin is. But if we turn over to the back, we actually see this is actually just foam board and basically paper towel rolls. That's all these are just all cut up and spray painted to make it look all nice and neat. And on film, it looked fantastic. I just could not get enough of it.
And now, on-set application with Turo.
Well, General Crud, while you were off playing Martha Stewart, I've been busy inserting a traitor into the critics' ranks.
Now the transformation is complete.
Stupid humans! Ram animals! You must be out of your skull bone if you think I'm going to be conquered by these pitiful humans.
Are we doing the nose piece?
I don't have a good nose piece for it. The nose clip I had just looks stupid. It's stupider than it should.
Of course, Mechacar was not the only character needing special makeup effects. Here's Rob to tell us about the Executor.
I wore makeup. I thought it was just my face. No, it's pretty cut and dry. I just need to look like the Emperor from Return of the Jedi. So, fortunately, Haley did a fantastic job of turning this hideous visage into something beautiful and young and nubile.
Okay, here's Haley to tell us about the Executor.
With the Executor's makeup, originally I had a mask mold that I used to make some pieces. And we tried to use those pieces, but that particular day of shooting, it was pretty late. And it got to the point where it was very, very hot in the room. And we tried to put the pieces on, and I was applying makeup over it. But with that, we had a lot of problems. He was sweating it off really bad. So we had to change our plans. So I wasn't able to use all the face pieces that I wanted to use. We ended up just using the forehead piece. And so it's like some of the makeup I had to keep trying to fix and keep reapplying. So we were just kind of winging it from that point.
Good. This is better than Dancing with the Stars. Sure. And now, on-set application with Big Mickey.
Mickey.
Ruining my clothes.
Yeah, that's what happened.
Oh, this is a stain-resistant shirt. Actually, I wonder if it. Let's put this stain resistance to a test. I'm the shirt critic. That's what it's going to cause for, especially around the mouth. I'm making fun of my characters written all day. It's just like Nicky comes in, someone caught him short, he murdered him. Well, it was built to grade. So, it's all these short jokes. So, no, because Brad is like, well, no, someone caught him short again.
All over the face.
I'll have you know, I did not write Brad's line in. That was Doug.
Someone caught him short again.
Dude, I just thought it would be funny because we're always making fun of you if you just get your revenge.
I like it.
I'm letting you in the face.
Really? What? I wanted to look like me. I really wanted to look like
Breathe in the blood.
I really wanted like Rambo, where this looks like he just ripped somebody apart.
I'm just so proud. I'll take a shower after this.
Yeah, we've got a shower. You can totally just get clean.
Careful.
Thank you. You're bleeding all over the place.
I didn't mean to.
Wow. I think this is the role you were born to play, actually.
The psychopath.
Well, it's always the quiet ones. The handprint, I think, is actually the best touch of all. I can just imagine poor Jim Carrey just, oh! You need to make this your Facebook profile. No, this needs to be your Love Cupid profile.
Oh, shit, I forgot
I did some okay Cupid pictures.
I forgot my camera upstairs.
I like long walks on the beach, eviscerating and disemboweling people with my teeth.
I totally need to tag you on my Facebook, but that's later.
Everyone look at the camera and say Facebook. Facebook.
That's actually pretty good. Yeah. Somehow you whipped him around you. Gets him on his back. Actually, no, I wonder if we could write "Help Me" in blood on the back. Do you think it's possible?
Get some claw marks on it.
Do you think it's possible? Could you actually write that? He sure did.
Wait, just to make the point, I put a little exclamation on there.
Nice.
Can we get the H a little? The H just a little like an N.
Hold on, I was gonna say, give a little my hands.
I just love the concept. What would have Pick have been able to even write that in black? And how? That's just...
It's like, this is the most pointless makeup job in the entire series.
All right, what'd you guys think?
Oh, the help me out the bag is the best.
That was the last minute edition.
That's the $1 million question.
It's Mickey.
Guys. Camera over here, we're gonna have full instead of
Good work.
Yay! Good one, man.
Of course, the lessons from last year were fresh on everyone's minds.
Last year we had a huge problem with props and costumes being left at the hotel, and people having to drive back to get them. Well, last year gas prices sucked. This year gas prices blow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass out note cards, and you guys are going to write down everything you need to bring, costume or prop-wise, that is essential to the shoot. And at 6:30 tomorrow, when we all meet in the lobby, I'm going to come up to you and I'm going to like, here's your note card. And you're going to show it to me. You're going to have it like checked off, and I'm going to say, so everything is right here on your person right now. If you say yes, then that's cool. If it doesn't end up at the location,
We had things like makeup, which was great. We had 2 cameras from the beginning, which we didn't have in Suburban Nights. That was a last minute addition halfway through the shoot. So from the beginning, we had 2 cameras, which saved us time. And we had real boom mics, which saved us time. We had better lighting generally. The We Shot First people, Justin, Haley, and Terry made a dolly. Actually, that may be my favorite prop. They made a track so that we can move the camera back and forth. And they named it after me and actually autographed it and gave it to me, which was pretty awesome.
At least for the first half, a little more than half of the shooting schedule, it went a lot smoother than Suburban Nights. But it was also a lot more work because they planned a lot of time. And it wasn't just like one guy with a handheld camera. We had an actual like crew and a set and team and direction. And, setting up shots, setting up lighting and all like that, setting up sound, which we did not have in apparently any of the other previous productions. So we they really wanted to step it up for the professionalism. For the first 4 days, it worked pretty much like that. Somewhere around day 5, it started to break down a little.
There was definitely more preparation in it. We had a script supervisor making sure the continuity added up. We had runners, and people making sure the production moved smoothly.
So Rob, how's it going today?
But you're gonna get ready to go to a deep dive.
It's going.
Are you guys good with it?
Actually, probably could just ahead of schedule. Not to read that. I probably won't have for long. 15 minutes.
That's probably for the best. So Doug, how's it going today?
It's going okay. So far, everything's been going good.
15 minutes behind schedule, so hurry up. So we have a lot more on this one. The problem is it's still a 3-hour movie shot in 6 days, and that's not going to move smoothly. I thought it would. I thought it would move more smoothly, but it's just the time. It's just, if you want it to look more professional, which we did, and we want all the stuff on there, it's still going to eat up time.
We had huge time management issues. Way too many nights that, kind of went over time. And everybody was a trooper, and thank you, and Sorry.
Really what happened this time was there was just so much more to do than what was in Suburban Nights. And Suburban Nights is sort of limited by being outdoors, and so we basically had the daylight to do everything. If we didn't get it done afterwards, then we had to do it the next day. Sort of having more time was it was good, and it was also a downfall.
And to be fair, nothing ever got cut. And we did shoot all the scenes, but I mean, we're talking like getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning and going to, on some nights it was like till
2 a.m. So I mean, it still became this very hectic, very tough schedule for so many people. To make a long story short, the production in many ways was better. In many ways, it was tougher, and that's one of the reasons I'm heading out. I'm doing these big ones again because it's hard watching the people go through that, and it just God bless them, they work so hard. So it's definitely one of the more memorable productions. It's definitely the production I'm the most proud of these people to work on.
There were a number of new faces in this year's crossover movie, both in front and behind the camera.
I've been with the site a little over a year before they invited me to the 4th year anniversary. Picked up from the forums after 8 months of working there. And I was very, very honored. I mean, to have been invited after working there for so short a time. I mean, there are other people who went to the anniversary who've been working with Channel Awesome a lot longer than I have. Yes, Otaku, CR, Panda, all of whom I really, really respect. I'm shocked it took them that long to get into an anniversary video.
I've been with that guy with the glasses for two, almost 3 years. I don't know. Here's the thing, I can't count, but I joined the site about 2 months before Kigasia, I think. So about Marchish of the year, the second year of the site. So a while. I've been with Sig for a while, but I finally got to participate in one of these anniversaries. Fun stuff.
It was a long time ago. It was when she was still cool and funny, so maybe a decade or something.
It was 3 years ago, you dick. God damn it.
Wait, we're doing crossovers into DVD extras now?
Yeah, but at the same time, they didn't write us a scene together in the movie, so where else are we gonna do it?
I was eager to work with all the different people from various corners of the glasses, particularly. I worked with Matthew before, but just generally speaking, like people that you don't have much contact with because they live really far away, Julian, Matthew, and even other people. Who was I never met Brad before this. I've met several of the other producers, but I never met Brad and hung out with him and talked with him, and he was awesome, and yeah, everybody was really cool. So half the fun was not just in the filming, but just getting to kind of hang out and really get to know all these people that I'd worked with and enjoyed their work for the past several years. So yeah.
My doctor pronounced me dead before I took the plane.
Oh. And now what you've all been waiting for, the Boldly Flea on set. Build sets were something new this year, and everybody had their favorite.
My God, with a ship at my command and a crew to dispose of.
Don't you mean at your disposal?
Sure, nothing can stop us.
My favorite set to film on was the bridge set, because as I said, I'm a big Star Trek fan, so it's always cool to see what Jim constructed. That was very original series style, with the weird rotating colory lights behind like a slightly transparent filter, the knobs and switches and everything like that.
One of the interesting things is that I originally did imagine a chair on the bridge. I just sort of thought the critic would be standing. I thought a chair would get in the way, say for like the fight sequence. So I was kind of against it, but he already sort of started putting it together. So it's okay. Well, let's see what it looks like. Worst comes to worst, we'll take it out. And it added so much. I mean, it's like it wasn't even a bridge until that went in there. It made such a huge difference.
I love that chair. I was sad that the buttons kept falling off and that a lot of buttons couldn't be pressed, but it was just awesome. I love the captain's chair.
Well, like the main deck was pretty. It was fun to do because there was a lot of space to move around and it was a fun set to just kind of look around in.
I'd probably say the bridge. I mean, I was right in front of the captain's chair, and it was very interesting to be right there and being able to hear all the action going on behind you. And, I liked it because being the navigator and having the wheel, being able to have the motion and being able to be physical on.
So started this a little late. I just now noticed is that actually this is the fourth nostalgia critic movie or channel awesome anniversary movie. Yes, the fourth one, fourth anniversary.
It was kind of goofy, kind of rinky-dink, and much like the Star Trek shows before it.
But there's a lot less montage combat. By montage combat, I mean stuff where it's just we need like 3 or 4 guys in this film, in this sequence, running or fighting each other or anything like that, and then we just keep cutting around, even though from continuity standpoint it doesn't make any sense.
Whenever we were under attack, Doug would shake the camera.
Let's shake that camera more for dramatic effect.
Thanks for pointing out the obvious, Bayless.
Right. That was a lot of the action. Honestly, I don't think we had a lot of choreography, all things considered. That was a little bit more planned out, but again, just for time, we had to sort of simplify it.
We showed up, and they said, "Here's what you're gonna do," and then we did it. And like, okay, this is me, and this is Lindsay, and then like this is Doug here, and Doug's like, "Oh, you got Lindsay, punch her in the face," and then Lindsay's like, "Okay, I will do it," and I'm like, "Oh, punch her back." And then we did it.
Allison and I were having to fake fight, without hurting each other when we didn't have anyone there to tell us how to do it convincingly or safely. So that was hard to make it look right, because it's like I'm doing this thing, like, what am I doing?
No, you're like slowly squeezing the neck pretty much.
Okay, guys. But the one time that I recall myself actually breaking character and starting to laugh was Juwario doing the Sulu thing where from The Naked Time, where he's shirtless and he makes this goofy expression on his face.
Ha ha! Ha ha! You're either gonna leave here bloodied or with my blood on your sword! Ha ha! Ha ha! Ha ha! Ha ha! Turn! Ha! Spin! Ha! Ha! Oh my God! Mattress!
Oh my goodness!
I couldn't hold it. It was just glorious. And I had to stop looking at him as we were filming that scene. Every time I looked at him, I just broke out laughing.
Naturally, some sets were more grueling than others.
Here's a brilliant idea. Build a set in an attic, fully carpeted. So there's not like you can even have a nice cold hardwood floor, but build it in an attic, have it filmed. I gotta say this, we couldn't predict the weather. It was a really hot spring, but some of these days we're topping out at 88 degrees. And we're in an attic. Now put a green screen in front of the air conditioner. Now even better, because we can't have noise, don't even bother turning on the air conditioner because it'll blow out the green screen and there's no noise. And then film with all of these giant film lights on. Yeah, it was topping out at 110 degrees up there. And you can tell because I think later in the film there's clearly a scene where the robe is off and the latex is melted off my face. It's just peeling and it just looks like somebody slapped like a sticker on my face. It's like, that one was hell for all of us. I mean, it was ungodly hot. And as bad as it was for me and the other people filming, poor Brad. Poor Brad is in the Darth Vader helmet in his full-on black suit. He was still smiling, hey, yeah, all the way. And I'm just like, oh my God. He's a trooper, man. He's a fucking trooper.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it is out of the ordinary for me to wear a black suit.
He was burned after he threw coffee in my face to get rid of that mosquito, which I didn't see, but I did, and couldn't find because he drowned in coffee.
And then Luke Mockery is in a white bath spa robe. I think he just stole it from the hotel. I don't know where he got that robe from, but so we're all sitting in there just, completely cooking for 7 hours. And then, it's like, okay, now we're going to shoot a lightsaber fight. For the next 3 hours. That was the worst set to film on. Really thankful to have people that could just really stick it out and really, and still be smiling by the end of the day. I mean, those are hard people to come
But it aged me about 5 years. Another new feat of this year's crossover was the inclusion of a musical number.
Do you even know the number one Kryptonian hit from 1983?
Well, thanks to Mecha I do know.
You should get that looked at.
I've always wanted to do something where there's an action scene, but there's a song going on as well, because you don't see that too often. And maybe because it's a little corny, but I think because we're a comedy, we can sort of get away with it. I was telling my brother about it. I just had this idea where Lindsay dressed up as Ursa and me dressed up as Zod would be singing this song to distract everybody. I remember him just going, "Oh, you mean something like, I need a distraction, I'm a distraction," or something. And it just came from there, just that, him imitating that song. So I'm like, that's not too bad. Yes, I think I will do that.
Well, it's clearly holding on for a hero, holding out for a hero from Mike Tyler to from the Footloose soundtrack. Distraction.
So I guess I tried to sing it like Bonnie Tyler. Yeah, I feel like one of the main inspirations for that song must have been
yes,
the
it
setup
came.
for Kyle.
You know,
just like that's like
yeah,
one of
you probably could.
that Kyle really likes to sing. Let him.
Oh no, we have no choice. We have to sing.
I'm singing Johnny Nada. Give us a wave.
I need to hear my music.
May have to kind of put like as an announcement somewhere.
But,
high school, I was in.
I'll figure it out. I'll try to think of something after the stream. How to bring that, try to get somebody for that role there.
In the men's chorus for several years after that. I sang the St. Matthew Passion, Bach's St. Matthew Passion at the Kennedy Center in the tenor section.
He does like to sing.
He's a singer.
Which is why we only have him sing at the end.
Especially when doing multiple
that's the way to treat your singer.
It was shockingly draining, not just to my body, but to my pride. I knew Doug expected me to do some kind of goofy dance in the background of that scene. The actual dance that I did was it was a reference to a bit of Fry and Laurie. There's a particular sketch on a bit of Fry and Laurie where Stephen Fry starts doing a dance much like I did, and he calls it dancercising. His own particular way of keeping fit, and so he does the whole sketch dancercising, just like that, doing that horrible non-dance that he does. And so I studied that thing, and I tried to incorporate that into what I was doing, and so that's why I look so shitty. Because I was trying to do more of my singing.
Uh-oh.
Destroy that fantastic tenor!
And now a quick distraction. How many movies do you think you guys parodied this year?
Oh my god. Oh Jesus.
Oh God, where to start? Star Trek, Star Wars, Men in Black.
Just the costumes alone. Well, we got RoboCop, Cowboy Bebop, Star Wars, Star Trek. I think we got every Star Trek movie in there, at least the original cast. I was very proud that even though we lost the fan dance, when Kara came up with this justification that the ending is close enough to Star Trek 5, where everybody's sharing drinks, that technically we did all of the Star Trek films. That's six Trek movies.
Keep going.
Aliens, Men in Black. Hello. I think there's a Spaceball reference. Star Wars, Flight of the Navigator. I think the whole concept of the house and building the house is very Explorers.
Terminator, obviously. A lot of Star Trek. There's a lot of Star Trek in this. RoboCop, Cowboy Bebop, Akira, The Matrix.
The Matrix. The Matrix bit is sort of like Inception. Some of it, I think, of the concept of the doors originally was more like Villains of Focus Journey, Dune, and then I'll send you.
Get your Gilly
Nothing
yet.
Better view. Ghostbusters, that's a major one. Did we do Battlefield Earth? Dark City's in there.
I actually didn't realize that my whole bit with Blue Concrete, where I'm doing that whole magician thing against the green screen, I had no idea that that was a Dark City reference.
It will be reference Doctor Who, obviously.
Akira, the Star Wars prequels we got in there.
Oh, Superman. I'm focusing on Battlefield Earth.
I can't name them all. Are you crazy? I'm not done listing the films. God damn it. You will not silence me. I mean, at least, like, could be anywhere around, like, between 30 and 50. I mean, we just have a ton.
Not enough. There wasn't even a Caligula reference in the movie. Is it that hard for me to ask to stick a flower up someone's ass?
What?
Of course, filming was only part of the process. Once everybody went home, it was time to begin visual effects.
Juario, you're the navigator. Do something. Well, if there's anything that Nintendo taught me, it's.
That's why he's saying the
There were a variety of different effects in the film. There were the 3D effects, and there was a lot of 2D effects. Many of the 2D effects could take anywhere from 15 minutes to set up and to render out to a couple of hours, depending on the complexity of the shot. I believe its magic scene actually took me something like 3 days to do, start to finish, because there's a lot of layering in there. With the 3D effects, my team, we had a modeler who modeled and textured, each ship individually, and then we would pass that off, these assets off to other members of the team that would animate each scene, and we would do that on a shot-by-shot basis. Some were very simple, move ship from here to here, and those could render out in as fast as a half an hour. There were some more complicated shots, like the death bomb exploding, which took a long time to rig and a long time to get the lighting just right, the explosions just right, and it had a render time of something ridiculous like 20 hours.
Well, whatever it is, it wasn't mine.
My team, the 3D team in particular, comprised of myself, who artistically directed the shots and the feel and the design of a lot of the ships. I passed that off to our modeler. His name is David Wendell. And our two 3D animators that I worked with closely was Alyssa Ravi and Tony Capeyisto. Another 3D artist that I worked with not as closely was Marlon. I was in communication with him, but he was not officially a part of my team. He did a lot of interior and setup there, but he did an amazing job. I'm very impressed with his work.
Mirobot did a beautiful redesign of the ship, gave it a more big budget look, so now it can actually fight. So I'm really looking forward to seeing Comic-Con 1 finally fighting.
Games of footloose, Any shot that the camera did not stand still, and I had to motion track an element in the room that stayed there from like the beginning of the shot to the end of the shot, was particularly difficult because of the blurring, the motion blur of the camera, and sometimes you'd lose it, and you have to go a couple of frames and click back on where the motion tracker was. And that was just to keep things framed within the film. Does it pop out a little bit? Maybe, but those were the most time-consuming.
I will not fight you, cinema snob. Really? My bruised kidney disagrees with that.
Coming up with the designs for the 3D models, I'm going to give the correct answer now, and then I will give the real answer later. Coming up with the 3D models was really interesting. I had conversations with Rob and Doug. We would sit and collaborate when they had an artistic vision. They gave it to me. And I remember going through the storyboards and thinking to myself, okay, this is the kind of feel that they want to go for. And I sat down with a piece of paper and just sketched out some designs of the houses and said, this is where we're going with a lot of the nuance. Doug had a lot of initial input with the way he wanted to be magical. He wanted the two ridiculous, thrusters on the back. But in terms of some of the detail and some of the character of those ships came later. The McMansion, for example, is a ship that was supposed to be a surrogate for the Reliant in Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan, and just as a floating house, it's humorous, but it's not as ominous, and it doesn't give you that soulful like recreation of that's where they're going with these shots. And adding the two ridiculous cannons that come out the bottom, which was actually a design idea that came from this, was that they were going to replace the nacelles from the Reliant, and you had a visual nod to the source material in that respect. Now, because they come out from the bottom of the house and flip out, was both because of the necessity of the film needed to say, oh, this is not very threatening to, oh my god. And I thought that would be a really funny way to do that. And then also just to have a very keen visual representation. And then a lot of the other designs in the film are nods to other science fiction genres.
You 30 sentinel calls. We're following the prisoner. Oh, you're just bitter because I didn't buy you that iPad you were flirting with. Because she was a whore.
In the designs for the West Anger Geek ship. You clearly have an X-Wing fighter, but you also have the fighters from Babylon 5 as well. It's hodgepodges and marrying ideas together and kind of making it look like it's all slapdash together, but it also works. Was the kind of feeling that this film was going for from the beginning, and that you really needed a way to represent all of these different things. There's so much science fiction that we missed, and there was no way to get it all in there, but as many nods as we possibly could throw into the film, we would. And that's where a lot of the design ideas came from.
What kind of movie would you like to see Chan Lawson do next?
I would love for us to do horror next.
Horror! You gotta do horror! Horror comedy, that's my thing, come on! Do it!
I think it's time that we did a musical. Yeah, I'm with the fans. Do a musical. I don't care. Like half the people on the site can't sing. That didn't stop a number of musicals from being made.
Everybody wanted a musical, and I was one of those people that was like, it would be fucking impossible and really crazy, but man, it would be fun. Man, it would be fun to do a musical. So I can't help but say, like, I still wish there would be an opportunity to do even a short musical. That would be fun.
As long as it's not a musical, because I cannot sing. I mean, listen to this voice. Listen to this voice. Does it look like I'll be able to sing this? No one wants to hear that. No one ever wants to hear that. And that is why there are several restraining orders ordering me never to sing again.
I'm not against the musical idea. I think it's a great idea. I just think it's really hard to do. And again, we're satirists, so we're inherently lazy. So we don't want to do it. So stop asking. Apart from that, murder mystery. That would be a lot of fun to do. But again, you have to come up with a plot. You have to know the murderer. You have to write it in reverse because you have to drop clues. And that takes time and effort. So again, stop asking.
Well, a lot of people have suggested this over the years, and I'll throw my hat in there, that we should do the murder mystery. It could be anywhere from Hitchcockian to like a clue spoof, but it might be fun to have like a small core group of producers trying to solve the mystery, and then everyone else playing in the murderer suspects. Although someone online suggested that I should even be killed. I'm not sure if that was meant as a compliment or not. Alternatively, if we ever had a really big budget, the one I'd like to do is like a spoof of It's a Mad, Mad, Mad World, a rat race, put a bunch of teams together chasing after a treasure. With all our different personalities, I think that could be a lot of fun.
Oh, gosh. You should do a Caddyshack spoof. Like all of the National Lampoons, like film nods of like the 70s and 80s, Caddyshack-centric spoof. That's kind of hard to spoof a spoof, but I think you guys could all do that.
Dogma 95. This company would do brilliant at a Dogma 95 movie. It's perfect for guerrilla filmmakers. I mean, it imposes a lot of limitations on you, but still, It's a great framework from which to build on, especially if you don't have much to build on.
Okay.
Sure. I could learn Danish.
Teen drama. Has to be done.
Yes, clarify.
We don't do it one of these next couple of years. Some scale.
I didn't realize this would be this long here, this behind the scenes.
That goes to hell. And I like the idea of figuring out what everybody's idea of hell would be. And maybe at one point they escape into heaven, and, or they have to fight the devil. Maybe the devil could be asked that guy. That was an idea. Or make a whole new devil or a funny idea. I just really liked that idea. But I had no script at all. You know, it was just some funny character jokes and nothing else. So, yeah, you probably won't see that. But that was one idea I had.
Okay, that was a bit morbid. Brad, you got anything for us?
Porn. Really, I just want to have sex with Bigfoot.
Why do I keep cutting? Let's just wrap this up.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know if you want this for behind the scenes thing, but I thought I would just add, you know, that it was a great production to be a part of. It was a lot of fun to be part of this and Suburban Nights. I hope that future projects are in the works and that, you know, all of us get to work together again. I love being a part of this site, a part of these productions, and it truly is really the highlight of this year and last year. You know, getting to spend time with such great people and do what I love doing most, and that's entertaining people and creating things. So I hope that whoever's watching this, you know, you enjoy Football Weekly, enjoy the work that everyone does, it was a great experience.
It's just been really great, and I'm glad I got to work with so many great people. And I just hope that they keep on doing what makes them happy, and because what they do to make themselves happy make lots of other people happy.
Final thoughts.
Yeah.
You know what? Thank you for the best summer off that I have had since I was a kid. The transition between full-time stiff to nation medical student and having this interim of what am I going to do with myself, having the opportunity to work on the visual effects for this film was not only a sanity provider as well as a reducer. It really allowed me to engage in this project in a very personal and a very different way than I actually thought possible. And it has brought me immense frustration and immense joy. And honest to God, granted, these effects are not Hollywood quality, and I really hope you enjoy it.
I was worried that I kind of, again, let down Doug. I always worry about letting down the side, because these anniversary festivals are very much a team thing. You need to be working as a team. I mean, Doug and Rob and Polly and Mike and everyone involved, and Ed and the We Shot First crew, everyone involved are all playing their own parts in this thing.
I just wanted to thank everybody that I got to work with. It was fantastic working with all these people to be a part of something big. And I definitely would do it again. And it was so much fun to be able to design the makeup and to be able to do makeup for Lewis and to be able to help put on makeup for Lindsay and Spoonie. And it was just so much fun. Being around all those people, it was constantly funny. Everybody was telling jokes and poking fun at each other, and it was just so much fun being there.
Absolutely, I would return for another project. I don't know, like, I guess people should know by now this is the last anniversary to be done like this. But you know, I love acting, and I love being a part of these things and hanging out with everybody. So yeah, sure, I would be happy to be here. Yeah. Absolutely. If there is room for me in my hands.
I hope you gave a crap about the characters. That's all I can say is like I tried to write in such a way that hopefully you can give a small amount of crap. That much crap about the characters that maybe I've done my job. Hopefully. Dear God, please say yes.
I've learned so much on this production as I do with
Okay.
And, the thing I always take out of it
Seeing out, I guess both you and Clay will be catching this in the rest of it in a replay, Dallas. Yeah.
I'll never
seem
not
like
be
they.
thankful for that.
I think hopefully they come into a point where I can cut it. They kind of dragging a bit longer than I thought they would. There with this.
Because this is something I just started off doing for fun, in my parents' home, and now it's like a production, and we have runners, and we have people on lights, and we have people on audio, and it's so surreal, and it's very stressful, but it's also so endearing to know that people still come, still help you out, still perform, and still give you this really awesome end product. So I cannot be more thankful.
Apparently so awesome that after this I chased away most of my channel loss creators by mistreating them. Okay, boy, that making was really long. Oh my goodness. Woo! Okay. I guess that's okay, good. We're gonna cut that right there, and we'll see but excuse me, the next stream there probably gonna be Saturday, because I got some stuff I gotta do tomorrow, so yeah. Say hope try to stream on Saturday, and we'll see y'all then there. Yeah. Now I gotta turn it off.